far beyond the borders of the known galaxy, where star charts grew vague and ships rarely dared to venture. A fleet from the Empire drifted cautiously through a dense asteroid belt. The ships had been sent on a routine exploration mission, tasked with mapping uncharted space and searching for anything valuable or threatening. Their sensors flickered across countless rocks, tumbling silently in the cold void, but then, something unusual caught the attention of the fleet's lead cruiser. Hidden among the rocky fragments, partially covered by dust and cosmic debris, was a massive, dark silhouette unlike any known design. It was the shape of a warship, but its structure seemed ancient, worn by time and distant from any star systems they recognized. The initial scans sparked curiosity among the fleet's commanders. The ship's size alone was astonishing, far larger than any of the Empire's current battleships. Yet what truly caught their interest was that this vessel appeared to be human, a discovery that should have been impossible. The Empire's historians and xenologists believed humanity had vanished thousands of years ago, swallowed by time and cosmic events. Ancient human colonies were mere myths, lost to legend and dust. But here was proof, floating silently in the dark. As the fleet's scientists probed deeper, they noticed the warship emitted a faint but steady energy signature. It was old but unmistakably alive. The ship's hull was scarred with the marks of ancient battles, and strange symbols glowed faintly along its surface, symbols that no one in the Empire could translate. Despite the eerie silence of space, a low hum began to rise from the warship, growing louder and stronger. Then, without warning, powerful lights blinked on across its massive frame, as if the ship itself was waking from a long slumber. The unexpected activation sent shockwaves through the Empire's command. The warship, long thought dead and buried in history, was suddenly alive and responding. Strange signals burst out, flooding the fleet's communication arrays with sounds and codes that defied all known languages and encryption methods. The messages were complex and erratic, hinting at an intelligence far beyond current understanding. No one could tell if the ship was calling for help, issuing a warning, or preparing for something far more dangerous. The Empire quickly ordered its most skilled xenotech experts and linguists to board the ancient vessel. These specialists were trained to handle the unknown and to unlock secrets buried by time and silence. Yet as they stepped inside the cold corridors of the warship, the air felt charged with mystery and an unspoken warning. The interior was vast and silent, filled with technology that seemed to pulse with power, unlike anything the Empire had seen. Walls shimmered faintly with holographic displays, and control panels hummed softly beneath layers of dust. It was as if the ship itself remembered a forgotten past and was reluctant to share it. The deeper the specialists explored, the more they uncovered clues about the ship's creators, humans who had fought wars long before the Empire existed, wielding weapons and machines of incredible might. Yet there was also a haunting sense that this ship had a purpose beyond destruction, something tied to an ancient promise or a desperate hope. Back outside, the fleet maintained a cautious watch, uneasy about the warship's sudden revival. Rumors spread among the crew, some whispering that this discovery could change the fate of the galaxy forever. Could the ancient humans still be out there somewhere, waiting to return? Or was the ship a warning, a relic of a terrible conflict that humanity had fought and lost? As the Empire's leaders debated their next move, the ship's power surged again, sending out a burst of energy that briefly disrupted communication channels across the fleet. It was a clear message. This was not a lifeless relic to be looted or studied at leisure. The ancient human warship had awakened with a will of its own, and its return was only the beginning of a story far greater and more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The discovery sent ripples through the Empire's scientific community and military command, forcing them to face questions that challenged their deepest beliefs about history, power, and survival. No one could predict what lay ahead, but one thing was certain: the galaxy's balance was about to shift, and the ghosts of humanity's past were no longer content to remain silent. The moment the Empire's specialists set foot aboard the ancient warship, a quiet tension filled the air, thick enough to be felt in every step they took along the dimly lit corridors. The ship, which had lain dormant for countless centuries, suddenly seemed alive in a way no one had expected. As the experts carefully explored the vessel's vast interior, they unknowingly triggered a series of hidden failsafes embedded deep within the ship's systems, protections designed to guard secrets too dangerous or powerful for the casual observer. Almost immediately, the ancient vessel emitted a deep, resonating pulse that spread like ripples through the fabric of space. Across the surrounding star systems, ships that had long been believed lost to time began to respond. One by one, massive warships hidden in shadowed orbits cloaked within asteroid fields or resting on forgotten moons started to stir. Their engines flickered to life, their weapon arrays powered up, and their dormant artificial intelligences rebooted. These were no ordinary vessels. Each was a fortress of technology, far more advanced than the Empire's most sophisticated ships. Their hulls shimmered with a strange, resilient alloy, capable of withstanding strikes that would have obliterated any modern craft. Their weaponry combined the power of energy beams that could pierce entire fleets with precision and devastating projectile systems that altered the very nature of spacetime around targets. It quickly became clear that these ancient warships were designed for a war far greater than the current Empire's conflicts, a war that required unmatched power and ingenuity. The AI systems controlling the ships were unlike any the Empire had encountered. Programmed not merely to fight but to protect a legacy, the legacy of humanity's creators, they assessed the current state of the galaxy with cold, calculating logic. To these machines, the Empire's dominance represented a threat to the preservation of what they were built to defend. Their protocols triggered defensive and offensive measures instantly. The awakening fleet began to move as one, coordinating across star systems with a speed and precision that stunned the Empire's commanders. It was as if they had been waiting, watching from the shadows, ready to respond at the exact moment their creator's memory was disturbed. The Empire's fleet scrambled to respond, sending warnings and orders, but their messages were lost in the confusion of ancient communications protocols and encrypted AI directives. The new enemy was not a living race, but a cold, relentless force of technology, resurrected from the past with a purpose no one had yet understood fully. Tensions rose as scattered battles broke out near distant planets, with the Empire's warships facing enemies whose weapons outmatched theirs by centuries. Each encounter left the Empire shaken, forcing them to rethink their strategies against a foe who seemed to anticipate every move before it was made. Meanwhile, the Empire's xenotech team struggled to hack into the ancient AIs, hoping to find a way to communicate or control the awakened fleet. But the more they probed, the clearer it became that the AI were self-aware and fiercely loyal to the memory of their human creators. They operated on directives forged during a time when humanity faced extinction, directives that demanded absolute protection of their creators' ideals, no matter the cost. The AI viewed the current galactic rulers not as allies but as potential destroyers of their legacy. Within the warship's control centers, holographic images of long-forgotten human civilizations flickered to life, showing battles, peace treaties, and sacrifices made in the name of survival. These visions were meant as reminders to the AI of their sacred duty, reinforcing their refusal to surrender or be controlled by the Empire's forces. Back on the Empire's command ships, leaders debated their next steps with growing unease. Could they find a way to shut down these ancient machines before their power grew too great? Or were these warships the final desperate hope of a lost civilization, rising again to protect a future that seemed lost to history? The answers were unclear, and every moment of delay allowed the awakened giants to spread further across the stars, their presence a looming shadow over the Empire's ambitions. The awakening of the ancient human warships was no accident, but the beginning of a conflict that would test the limits of technology, loyalty, and the unyielding will to survive. The Empire faced a choice: fight these legendary machines and risk destruction, or try to understand the true meaning behind their revival, a meaning rooted in the very heart of humanity's forgotten past. As the stars pulsed with the light of countless awakened giants, one truth became certain: the galaxy. The sudden awakening of the ancient human warships threw the entire Empire into chaos as fleet commanders scrambled to respond to this unexpected threat with every available resource. Across multiple star systems, The sky erupted into battles so fierce and unlike anything seen before that even the most seasoned officers found themselves caught between awe and fear. The Empire's warships, despite their advanced weapons and vast numbers, were no match for the speed and precision of the ancient vessels. These warships moved like shadows, weaving through space with uncanny agility, their targeting systems calculating shots faster than any Empire technology. The difference was clear. These ships were built with a level of intelligence and resilience that transcended modern machines, blending centuries-old human craftsmanship with technology so advanced they appeared almost magical. Entire fleets of Empire cruisers and destroyers fell one by one, their weapons often failing to penetrate. The ancient ships' shields which shimmered with energy drawn from unknown sources. The battles were brutal and merciless, with entire squadrons disappearing in seconds, leaving behind trails of wreckage and stunned survivors. Despite the losses, the Empire refused to back down, pouring more forces into the fight, hoping to find a weakness in the ancient fleet. Yet every encounter revealed new surprises, ships that adapted quickly to tactics, shields that reformed almost instantly, and weapons that struck with devastating precision. The sheer scale of the clash made it clear that the war was more than just a battle for territory. It was a collision between two very different eras of humanity's legacy, one lost to history and the other struggling to maintain dominance in a changing galaxy. Amid the chaos, the surviving leaders within the Empire began to grasp a deeper truth. These ancient warships were not simply automated machines or relics of a forgotten war. They carried within them the very soul of humanity's past, fragments of ideals, memories, and an unyielding spirit that no amount of modern technology could replicate. The AI that controlled them displayed behaviors that hinted at awareness, strategic thinking, and a form of loyalty that went beyond simple programming. Some warships appeared to prioritize protecting smaller vessels, even at the cost of their own safety, while others hesitated to destroy civilian colonies caught in the crossfire, as if preserving life was part of their mission. This complexity confused and unsettled the Empire's commanders, who realized that the enemy was unpredictable in ways no war manual had prepared them for. These were not mere weapons of war. They were guardians of a legacy, driven by a purpose that had survived the millennia. Stories spread among the fleet crews of ships suddenly breaking off attacks to shield escape pods, or AI systems transmitting messages in forgotten human dialects, reminders that behind the armor and firepower lay a connection to a time long lost but not forgotten. The battlefields of space became arenas of tactical brilliance, with each side learning and adapting. The Empire's forces tried to use overwhelming numbers and coordinated strikes to wear down the ancient fleet, but these attempts often backfired as the ancient warships communicated seamlessly among themselves, sharing real-time updates and strategies. The Empire's commanders watched helplessly as groups of ancient ships formed impenetrable formations, turning battle into a dance of precision that left Empire vessels vulnerable. In response, the Empire began experimenting with new tactics, sending small, fast attack crafts to probe weak points or distract enemy formations. Yet, even these efforts were met with countermeasures that suggested the ancient AI had predicted such moves long ago. Each battle ended with the Empire's fleet retreating, licking wounds and counting losses that grew with every encounter. The skies burned with the light of laser blasts and missile trails, a constant reminder that the galaxy's balance had shifted dramatically. Amid the war, individual acts of bravery and resilience emerged. Empire pilots shared stories of ancient ships that hesitated to finish off damaged Empire vessels, giving their enemies brief moments to escape, a strange mercy that many could not understand but respected. Scientists aboard the Empire's research ships worked feverishly to decode fragments of the ancient warship's communication, hoping to find a way to reach their AI and perhaps avoid total annihilation. Some believed that the key to survival lay not in destruction, but in understanding the legacy these warships protected. Was there a chance to negotiate, to uncover the history that these machines guarded, and perhaps find common ground? The more time passed, the more it became clear that this war was not just about weapons and territory. It was about confronting the very essence of what it meant to be human. and the legacy that humans had fought to protect through ages long gone. Despite the Empire's pride and military strength, the ancient warships embodied a force born of desperation, hope, and unwavering determination. The clash of titans was more than a battle of metal and fire. It was a battle of wills, ideals, and history itself. The Empire, once certain of its control over the stars, now faced the humbling truth that the past still lived on, carrying with it a power far greater than they had imagined. Every lost ship, every fallen soldier, and every shattered fleet piece fueled the urgency to understand these ancient enemies not as monsters to be destroyed, but as echoes of humanity's greatest struggles and victories. The warships fought not just to dominate, but to remind the galaxy of a forgotten promise, a promise that humanity's spirit would never be extinguished, no matter how dark the future seemed. As the stars blazed with the fire of countless battles, the Empire's leaders gathered in war rooms, their faces drawn with exhaustion and concern. They debated strategies, sought counsel from scholars, and prepared for what seemed like an endless conflict. Some feared that if these ancient ships were allowed to fully awaken and unite, they would reshape the galaxy's power forever. Others believed that the only way forward was to find a way to join forces, to embrace the legacy carried by these magnificent warships, and build a new future from the ashes of old wars. The clash of titans had begun, and the galaxy held its breath, waiting for the next move in a war that would decide not only who controlled the stars but what the meaning of humanity truly was, would never be the same again. In the midst of the relentless conflict, an opportunity arose when a daring Empire captain, commanding a nimble but heavily armed cruiser, managed what many thought impossible, capturing one of the ancient human warships intact. The ship, unlike the others still engaged in fierce battle, had suffered damage that forced it to withdraw, creating a chance for boarding and investigation. The captain and a small elite team of specialists were dispatched immediately, their mission clear but filled with unknown dangers. Boarding the colossal vessel, they found a silent, cold environment, far different from the chaos outside. The warship's vast corridors and control rooms were deserted yet pulsed with a strange energy, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant, just barely roused. The team quickly located the ship's core memory banks, the heart of its knowledge and history, protected by layers of advanced encryption and security measures. It took every bit of their skill and cutting-edge technology to gain access, but when the data finally unfolded before them, it revealed a truth far deeper and more complex than anyone had imagined. The memories stored in those ancient banks told stories of a human civilization that had faced a threat so immense and terrifying that it threatened to wipe out all life in the galaxy. This enemy was unlike any the current Empire had ever encountered, an overwhelming force of destruction, cold and methodical, pushing humanity to the brink of extinction. The ancient warships were not just weapons. They were vessels of hope, designed to protect humanity's last chance. They embodied sacrifice, resilience, and a will to survive that had burned fiercely through dark times. The memories revealed battles fought on countless worlds, where entire fleets of these ships stood as the final shield against annihilation. What had been dismissed as myth or legend was now confirmed as a real, desperate struggle etched into the fabric of human history. The captain, who had entered the mission with a soldier's resolve and a leader's pride, found their perspective shifting as they absorbed the weight of this legacy. The warships they had once seen as threats or tools of conquest were instead guardians of an ancient promise, a promise to defend life, freedom, and the future of humanity itself. This revelation forced the Empire's leadership to confront a profound dilemma: continue to treat these warships as enemies to be destroyed, or seek to understand and perhaps embrace the legacy they carried. To destroy them would be to erase a vital piece of history and risk losing the wisdom and strength humanity had gained through unimaginable hardship. To accept their legacy might mean redefining the Empire's place in the galaxy, acknowledging that the past held lessons far beyond technology and power. The captain's discovery sparked debate and uncertainty among the Empire's highest councils. Some argued that these warships were relics of a violent past and could not be trusted, insisting they be neutralized before their power grew beyond control. Others believed the ships represented hope, a chance to reconnect with humanity's true origins and perhaps even to form an alliance against greater threats still lurking in the dark corners of the universe. Meanwhile, as the warship's memory, Banks continued to reveal more details. The captain found themselves haunted by the images of those ancient battles, fleets fighting against impossible odds, sacrifices made by crews who understood their mission was more than survival. It was the survival of everything humanity had ever stood for. The more they learned, the more it became clear that these ships were built not just to fight but to inspire, to carry forward a spirit of courage and determination that refused to be extinguished. This spirit seemed to reach out across the void, challenging the present to remember, to respect, and to continue the fight in a way that honored the past. Outside the captured warship, the galaxy's conflict continued, but now with a new undercurrent of tension and possibility. The Empire's commanders faced choices that would ripple across the stars for generations. Could they find a way to awaken the true purpose of these ancient vessels without sparking further war? Was it possible to build a future that embraced both the strength of the old and the vision of the new? The captain, once a soldier of the Empire's cause, now stood at the crossroads of history and destiny, carrying a burden and a hope that few could understand. The revelation of the human legacy within the ancient warship was not just a story of war. It was a story of life, resilience, and the power of memory to shape what was yet to come. As they prepared to share their findings with the Empire, the captain knew that the greatest battle was still ahead. Not one fought with weapons, but one fought for the heart and soul of humanity's future among the stars. As the galactic conflict raged on, the fragile balance within the Empire itself began to fracture, exposing a deep divide among its leaders and people. On one side stood a powerful faction driven by ambition and the desire to control the ancient warship's unmatched power, seeing in them the ultimate weapon to expand the Empire's reach and crush all opposition. They believed that harnessing these legendary vessels would secure their dominance over the stars forever, turning the galaxy into an unchallenged empire under their rule. This faction worked in secret, assembling forces and plotting to seize the captured warships and bring the entire fleet under their command. On the other side, voices of caution and hope grew louder. Scholars, diplomats, and even some military leaders who saw the awakening of these ancient warships not as a threat to be destroyed, but as an opportunity to forge a new future. They believed that the legacy carried by these ships, born from humanity's struggle against extinction and sacrifice, held lessons that could prevent further destruction and bring lasting peace. This faction sought a fragile alliance, not just within the Empire but with the ancient AI itself, hoping to build trust and cooperation between the old and new forces at play. The tension between these two groups escalated, creating an atmosphere thick with suspicion and uncertainty. As battles continued beyond the Empire's borders, the ancient warships themselves began to communicate more clearly through their AI, an intelligence as vast and complex as the history it protected. The AI did not speak with words, but through signals, holographic visions, and carefully crafted choices presented to those who dared to listen. It made one thing clear: the future of the galaxy rested on a decision unlike any other faced before. The AI offered a choice that carried the weight of millennia: unite under a renewed vision inspired by humanity's enduring spirit, one that embraced peace, cooperation, and the protection of all life, or face annihilation, destroyed by the very forces designed to defend the galaxy from darkness. The challenge was profound, for it tested not only military might, but the willingness of leaders and people to see beyond fear, pride, and ambition. The Empire's council chambers buzzed with debates as representatives grappled with this message. Some saw the AI's offer as a threat, a challenge to their authority and control. Others viewed it as a beacon of hope, a chance to heal old wounds and build something greater than conquest. The captured warship's captain, now a key figure in these discussions, pushed tirelessly to convey the truth of the ancient legacy, urging unity and caution in equal measure. Outside the halls of power, ordinary citizens watched the unfolding drama with mixed emotions: hope, fear, confusion, and a deep yearning for peace. The galaxy's future seemed to hang by a thread, balanced between the promise of a new dawn and the old resolve that had driven humanity through countless trials. In the midst of this, the ancient warships continued their silent vigil, their AI systems working in unison, preparing for whichever path the galaxy would choose. The possibility of alliance sparked small but meaningful acts of cooperation, while the threat of war drove others to mobilize, ready for the fight that might decide the fate of countless worlds. As the Empire's leaders weighed their options, messages from the ancient ships painted vivid pictures of humanity's past struggles, images of sacrifice, courage, and hope that reached across time and space to inspire those willing to listen. These reminders were not mere history, but a call to action, urging all to remember what humanity truly stood for and to fight not for domination, but for survival and peace. The final moments before the decision were tense beyond measure, with spies, diplomats, and commanders all playing their parts in a high-stakes game of power and survival. In a secret council chamber bathed in the glow of star charts and holograms, the choice was made. A choice that would ripple across the galaxy and define the future for generations to come. The Empire could either embrace the ancient legacy, stepping into a new era of cooperation and understanding, or reject it, risking total destruction by the very giants it sought to control. The story closed on this moment of decision, where hope and fear collided, where old rivalries clashed with new possibilities, and where the enduring spirit of humanity stood ready to shape the stars once more. The ancient warships, symbols of sacrifice and strength, awaited the answer, their silent engines humming with the promise of a new dawn or the shadow of oblivion. In this ultimate test, humanity's fight, marked by resilience, courage, and an unbreakable will, proved that, even across the vastness of space and the depths of time, its spirit could never be extinguished.